Monday. I know this isn't typically my normal live cast day, but Priyansha is with us today, and I'm super excited because last time I had to cancel our episode and I felt so bad. So Priyansha, thank you so much for being flexible with your time and being able to join me today. Today's episode is sponsored by the International Society of Automation. So make sure you stay tuned after this episode and check out their message because they have a great deal that's starting this week, and you can get some awesome discounts on some of the things they're offering. So Priyansha, thank you so much for joining us. I always love to start my episodes off with you sharing some more information about yourself and the background of how you got involved in this lovely sector that we like to call engineering and manufacturing.
Thank you so much, Megan, for having me in the show. And yeah, I'm Priyansha Bagaria, founder CEO of Loopr AI. I come from a manufacturing background, was the fourth generation entrepreneur in my family business of manufacturing. So born and brought up in that environment, have practically the first industry I've known all through my life has been manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
Remember spending majority of my summer vacations on the factory floor, like playing around with like spending time with my grandfather, helping him with his tools, and with we make mica based manufacturing material. So they would get these block of mica, and I'll try to sit with the with the operators and try to take out layers and layers of mica. And it used to be so much fun. So kind of coming from that background, right? Like seeing the process so closely all through my
Mm-hmm.
life. For me, that was, I mean, one of the industries that's very, very close to my heart. And for me, it made a lot of sense to come back and then really do something for manufacturing, being a manufacturer by myself. So on the professional side, I did computer science engineering, software engineering, and then worked in my family business, did an MBA, international MBA from Europe, lived in Netherlands for many years before finally moving to US, did a data science fellowship from Cornell, and has been part of this, started with an AI startup, worked over there for a couple of years, and then really wanted to get back to manufacturing, which has always been something, where I wanted to contribute and add value.
So you founded Loopr AI, and I'm so curious as to how that thought process went. So my first question is what was your main inspiration for starting that company, and what were your initial feelings? Because I know when I went on my own with Mavens and manufacturing, I didn't think it was gonna grow the way that it's grown. I just wanted to start it for fun. I initially started Z Inc Solutions, and that's more of like a freelance tech writing company. So it wasn't a lot of pressure on me to start that. But what sort of feelings were going through your mind, starting your own business? Are you scared? Because even in this industry, we're only representing 30% here in the United States, and I'm sure you've experienced some roadblocks and struggle climbing up the ladder. So can you share some details about that?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. So I remember when I was hands down in my family business, there were a lot of challenges which we would see day to day on the factory floor around quality and and some of the things which, having that software background, for me it was it was, I always thought that it's so obvious. Why are we not using technology? And that's when I realized that the things which seem very obvious, it's not so easy to implement in real life. And one of the challenges was so I remember there was this one process we would do where mica and glass have to stick together using a resin, which is like a silicon or an epoxy resin. And they're cured under temperature, and I mean, they have to go through the whole process. And there were times there were bubbles would come up. Now that used to happen when the curing is not done well. And as soon as that happens, basically you need to make some changes in the process because you know that the bad product has started coming. Now this would not happen every day. This might happen once in 2 days. Now but when it starts happening, there'll be a certain part of the product which will have that defect. So you can't ship that to the customer because that's a bad product, that's a defective product. And it was really hard for us to kind of keep a check, because you can imagine it's a roll and it's getting inside the roll, and it's impossible to go through that, and the material is very fragile. So you can't even like, open it and look at it, or like, or the other option is just have somebody stand there day in and day out and keep looking at it. I mean, who would want
Yeah.
to do that job? Like, just imagine, like, what you are doing is standing there and looking at the sheet. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Is it is the most mundane, like, I mean, I would say job you could think of. And that's when I was like, I went to my dad and was like, why don't we bring in like some technology capabilities here? We went around to look for solution in the market, and I realized that to build something like that, like I'm talking
Mhm.
2000s, like 13, it would have costed like insane amount of money. Like, we're talking about couple of $100,000, like, like a quarter million to like a half a million. And for a small and medium sized company, that's a lot of money we are talking
Yeah.
about. And he's like, I would rather have one guy whose full time job is to just stand there rather than paying all this money to build an application. And that was like, for me, was one of like, it was like a trigger point. But I always had that back in my head that, hey, I want to go back and make the technology so easily accessible for
Mhm.
manufacturing and like, aerospace industry, where it doesn't come very naturally, right? Like traditional businesses, we are so used to seeing machines and people and like, material. Technology is something which is not so obvious to us,
Right.
right? So it was always about how to go about. So when I started with this, I did my fellowship and I started, and I saw the same challenge while I was working for big companies. Like, I mean, it's just that there's a long gap and there's a big opportunity. And then that led me, when I was part of a AI consulting startup which was focusing on retail. For me, back in my mind, I always wanted to go back to solve this big problem which I saw while I was working for my father. And entrepreneurship is something which I've seen all through my life while growing up. Like, I've seen my grandfather, I've seen my uncles, I've seen my dad building up the, like, running the company and building things from scratch. So for me, it was like, I always wanted to do, you're right. There has been a lot of times when, you have that fear that, is this gonna work? Is this something? Because it's not easy, and especially for me, because I moved. US is a completely new country for me. I come from India, and for me, it's like, how do I build something here, like, where I have like no backing or no big support or no, like, like Godfather. Like, I'm like, just moved to the country. I have to build everything from scratch, and it's never easy, right? Like, but
Right.
I've been super, super lucky to find very supportive people all my journey, and including you today, like, who's willing to share my story out there. And all of these gestures and these opportunities come a long way for. So I'm thankful to you, even me, for providing this platform to, like, let people express what did you, like, put it out there. And you never know where which one opportunity would lead to the second opportunity. So it all started like that, and here we are now, like almost 3 years for Loopr in existence. And I'm very excited about my team as well. Very, very thankful for them to find like the right set of people who, we've come together and building something really exciting.
That's such a great story, and I couldn't imagine, like, going to a different country and starting something from completely scratch, especially, like, in an industry that has been traditionally so male dominated, and now you have to, like, learn a new culture because we tend to do things a little bit differently here in the United States. I'm not gonna deny that, but, it's such a great story of perseverance and just, pushing through. I do want to bring in some comments. If anybody's tuning in, feel free to drop your comments. There does seem to be a delay on my end sometimes, and then LinkedIn, for whatever reason, if you're tapping in on a mobile device, it doesn't bring up all the comments. So if I don't respond here, it's probably because I didn't see your comment, but I will respond afterwards. So Inga is here. She said, "Happy Monday, Megan." And Priyansha, LinkedIn is acting weird, so jumped on here. See, she totally call it out. And then she's saying hi to everyone. And then, yes, and sometimes it's a different perspective that takes the why aren't we and turns it into how do we. I love Tony. She's part of SME. So if you're not connected with her, please connect with her. And then awesome orange
Hmm.
origin story. I need more coffee. Holy crap. And then just a little Megan. And then Hank says, "Hi, Megan, from my office this week." So Hank tunes in every week, and he has two daughters. They're called the Junior
Oh,
Board of Directors. So they tune in as much as they can, and he'll like teach them what he can based off of the episode. So one day they watched Barbie the welder, and then they were like, "Can we weld?" So they're super
So cute.
excited. Yeah, I love it. Well, can you tell us a little bit more then about Loopr AI? Like you kind of gave us a general overview of it, but I really want to get into the nitty gritty. So you're really empowering manufacturers and aerospace companies of all sizes to practically integrate AI on their factory floor. And I just want to know, like, in what ways you're actually doing that. Like, what is so unique about Loopr AI from other solutions that might be available on the market for them?
Yeah. So we are we providing completely no code solution. So it comes with end to end, like from the camera to creating the software around that to deploying it and then training your workforce how to use it. So we providing like a complete solution. Second thing is what we've done is we've built a suite of applications. So what we've realized is for a manufacturer, right, you will need help on your quality issues. You need help in inventory, keeping account of what you have in your inventory or not. You need help in assembly verification, checking if everything is it's a complete order or not. You need help with. So what we've done is you don't want to have like multiple like suppliers to deal with. Okay, this solution because first of all, like I said, for a manufacturer to understand technology is very tricky. Now, on top of that,
Mhm.
if I need to manage five different suppliers to manage five different applications, I mean, I cannot even imagine. And then one thing we've realized is that in today's time, like for majority of the manufacturing companies, they don't even have like a full-fledged big tech team. Forget having like a big data science team. So AI is like a big curiosity among people. Like it's like a buzzword. Like hey, we're hearing all good things, we're hearing all negative things as well. But how do we actually get started? How do we try it out? And how do we see if it's a fit for us or not? So it's really like, what we've done is like a 8 weeks pilot program, which helps in identifying what your real problem is. So around productivity, like, around efficiency on the factory floor, around quality issues, around like cost management. So some of the things which is like really, and it's even more critical now than before, right? Like, because we know that the prices are going up, inflation is like really high right now.
Yeah.
Finding right labor, right skill labor is a challenge, right? A workforce is coming towards like most of the people have been working for 30 years, 35 years. They're coming towards their retirement age. A lot of the knowledge is inside your head. Like it's not
Right.
like you kind of you're like you're documenting it or this like for example, if it's I'm a new person and I'm a new welder and I've joined the team. I'm not going to be the same. I cannot bring the same value which somebody has been doing this job for 30 years. So how can I? But
Right.
still don't want to. The company doesn't want to compromise on the delivery and the quality of the product that they've been promising their customers for forever. So there's been all of these issues that we're seeing, like has like that's been out there, and what we are focusing in on is automating some of the manual, tedious job, mundane jobs and bringing AI capabilities for that using computer vision based applications. So like your images, text, documents, these kind of these kind of data sources.
So, what specifically? Because you, I believe it was on your website. Like there was information on there, and it was basically saying that your solution is really making it more affordable and easy to implement. So, what specifically is it about this particular software that's helping manufacturers make it easier to implement?
Yeah, so like I said, with when we try to look for a solution out there for my dad's company, if let's say if it's like the cost that we are providing right now, the solution is less than 1/10 of what we would have otherwise paid if we were trying to build it on our own or go out there. So you can see the difference in the
Okay.
pricing that we are talking about here. So it's like that's like the price that we've got the solution down. And then the second thing is how we differentiate ourselves from traditional vision system is that traditional vision system is not used to seeing a lot of adopting to a lot of change in the process, right? Like it's built in a certain way. It's great in doing the job where there's no change and it's you're seeing the same thing day in and day out. But what we've seen is that now our processes are so much more agile and like there's so many changes that happens. So the software has to be flexible too. Like you cannot
Mhm.
have something that you built today and then, two months down the line, your process changes, and again you need to go through the whole process of getting somebody coming in, building, rebuilding it, and paying through the whole money. And then that kind of even let you start doubting that if technology is even does it make sense or not. We're trying to fill that gap. So with our solution, if there is a change, you're able to bring in, adopt that change, adapt that change very quickly in the solution. So we're providing all that all that value as well through our solution.
That's really awesome. That's interesting. Well, you're definitely turning heads because you did have something on LinkedIn um, tied with the Sandvick Startup Challenge of this year. Now, I know that we had this scheduled a few weeks ago and we had to cancel. So, can you provide us more detail about like that challenge? Did it already happen? Did you win? Like, what's the story behind that?
Yeah, no, it was a very exciting opportunity, Megan. And I think, when people say that the best things happen at the most unexpected places, this has been one of those. Like we just I happened to see this challenge on LinkedIn, and seen a Leap, which is an ABB, powered by ABB
Yep.
company. They had this on there, and they were organizing this challenge with Sandvick, like, who basically needed the solution. And I just happened to see the post on LinkedIn, and I just told my team, why don't we this makes a lot of sense, and I see a lot of value with our solution that can help them with the problem that they have today. And we just happened to apply for it, and I mean, God is kind. Like, out of 35 startups who basically applied across three different segments, we actually made it to the top 18 out of 135.
Wow.
And then from that top 18, we made it to top 9. So we got selected, and we were the top 3 in our segment. And from that segment, we engaged a lot with the Sandvik team. We understood the problem more. We worked with them over a period of time, and we could build something quickly to show them, and we basically won the challenge. And that was, it was unbelievable. And I want to also highlight that I was supposed to travel to Sweden to present Loopr, but for some unforeseen my visa, with my for some unforeseen circumstances, I couldn't make it. But I'm so glad that I have such a strong team that Eric
Yeah.
team stepped up, and within 2 days he was on a flight to Sweden, and he went there to Stockholm. We prepped him in like less than a day, and he nailed it. Like, so I feel so blessed that, this is, like, I want to highlight that it's not just like a company is not just about one person, but it's connected
Right.
about the whole team. And I feel so blessed, and, that lucky that I have such a good, solid, strong team to back me and support me in everything that we've been able to achieve. And yeah, now we got a contract with Sandvik, which we've started working on already, and I'm super excited to see how this goes further.
That's awesome. So I didn't ask this earlier, but do you have a contract with your dad's company?
Yeah, we do. I mean, that was funny enough. That was the first contract I got. So I went back to him and I was like, "Listen, I'm going to solve your problem, but then nothing comes for free. So yeah, so you need to pay me for that." And he's proud of his daughter, and he wants to support me in every possible way. So yes, we have a solution live now at my dad's company, and it's doing well.
That's awesome. I was like wondering, like, if it didn't work out, like, what he would ask for, like a discount or like a refund or something. Like, you always think of like the impossible scenarios that could happen. And I've worked with my dad before, and it was definitely like an interesting because it was at a tooling company and he was one of the top executives
So,
there and I worked in the shipping department, and for whatever reason if something messed up that wasn't in my department, for whatever reason I was the one that had to fix it, and I'm like, I'm not even in that department, like what are you talking about, like
give me a
stop putting
bonus.
yeah,
Give me a
stop
bonus to solve that problem, right?
stop coming at me and yelling at me for things I'm not even a part of. Like, I don't know what you're doing there. But
So,
yeah, that's one of the best things. Well, congratulations on that. That's
no, thank
awesome that
you.
you won that. Another thing that I really like about you is you're really passionate, just like I am, about empowering women. And I think your story is so meaningful because there's that broken rung theory that a lot of people aren't aware of, but it's basically if a woman misses her first opportunity of promotion, then it's really hard for her to uh, climb that ladder and get another promotion. And then, I'm all about supporting women-owned businesses and being a cheerleader for other women because when one of us wins, we all win, and it's just easier when you have a tribe around you. So can you talk about, some of the things that you're doing personally and even at a company level where you're really helping to prep that next generation of women leaders? And, are there things that you're doing on the educational level? Like, are you partnering up with educational institutions? Are you sponsoring any like STEM initiatives? Like, what are some of the things you're doing?
Yeah, so I want to give a small like overview. So I come from a small town in India. It's like like the closest airport from my town is like 4 hours away. So you can imagine it was a small town. It was a small industrial town where you'll have some companies and people would work around that, and population in India of a small town is also quite high. I can tell you that, but it's still like in terms of resources and everything, it is a small town. So I feel I've been very lucky and blessed that I have a family as I do, and I remember like while growing up, my dad would travel a lot for work abroad, and I would have this 1 hour with him every day in the evening where he would educate me and he'll tell me what's going on around the world. So here me as a young girl sitting in a small town in India knowing what was happening in UK for that matter, because he would go there, he would experience all that and he'll share it with me. So which I feel that I was one of the very lucky few lucky people in the world, and for me it was always about that around me there's so many people who are not so lucky, and
Mhm.
we need to support and encourage them and see how we can bring in the same kind of opportunity which I got, because I was born in this family. So for me it was very important, because I still remember while growing up around the area that we were, there were a lot of rag pickers, and they would make money out of taking out things from garbage, and they would like just try to live on that. My dad actually ended up hiring them, teaching them the skill to work on the factory floor, and not just them, their wife, all the whole family, and they're still working. So the money that they would make from rag picking, now they have a operator job on the factory floor where they make a living, and they live with confidence, and the kids are studying, they all having a beauty. So I've seen all of that while growing up, that how important it is to give back to the society and really
Yeah.
add value, because I've seen my family doing that all through, and for me it was like, hey, how do I get to a point where even if I'm able to achieve anything little bit, I still want to give back to the society. So women empowerment is is extremely important for me, and the place where I come from, I've seen after studying so much, the women get married, they have to give up their job, they have to give up their career, and they have to stay back home because that's what is expected from the society, from the family. And it's kind of sad, because I feel like there should be an identity for everybody, right? Like it's not
Right.
it's you have your own individuality and identity, and it just doesn't have to be like your family identity. We're all capable of that. So it was all about how do I provide an opportunity. So through Looper, what we started is some of the jobs which doesn't need you don't need to be there in an office. We have started providing those data labeling job and those kind of jobs which people can do from their house. So now we have one person, she's done her masters, she's very well educated, and she couldn't work, and now she's sitting back, she has a newborn baby, she can work at her own flexibility, and she's making money, she can use that money for her baby, for herself. And these are the opportunities that I say, just an example, and she's so happy because it made her independent, she can utilize it.
Yeah.
And I always believe one thing, that when you educate a man, you basically educating one person, but when you educate a woman, you're educating the whole family, because that's how far it comes along, and that's what I personally believe in. So that's like a more like
But if you think about it, it's like true. Because I mean, and I'm not trying to dog on the guys. I love the guys here
You all
in
do.
no, I love the guys in engineering and manufacturing. I do because I've had a lot of allies who have
Yeah.
helped me and support me. And just like as you mentioned before, but women are more focused on relationship building. Like we're better at it and we're better at connecting people. And, there's a lot of stay at home moms who, do the home teaching with their kids. I could never do that. I couldn't trust myself teaching my kids how to survive. Like I can do that. But I love that. I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of truth behind that.
Yeah, and we
So
also active with like organizations like Women in Cloud, who's providing STEM education. Like, Chetra, me and Chetra, we come from, like, we are the alumni of the same engineering college, and she's doing this brilliant job of setting up, providing, like, skill, like, in skill sets in different, like, technology to women out there who wants to, and it's powered by Microsoft. Microsoft is supporting that
yeah,
initiative. So there's a lot of different ways of, again, trying to see if I can add value and collaborate and bring more opportunity for women out there.
that's super cool. That makes me think about my friend Alicia Gillipin too, because she she had this idea, um and she's like, I'm gonna start doing these kits for kids so that they can learn about
Yeah.
PLC.
Wow.
And she talked about it, she announced it, and just the amount of support she is getting from different companies, and they're sending her components, like they're just sending her all of the components needed for these PLC kits, and she
Yeah.
shares her progress and stuff, and it's just really cool because I and she says this all the time. She's like, I wish I had someone like that for me when I was growing up. And I was like, yeah, I wish I had an Ali like that too when I was growing up, because I probably would have picked a different career path. But it's just amazing, like even like the little amount that you go, how much it could mean to a smaller community, because some of these smaller communities just think that they're stuck or they don't deserve opportunities or chances. So I really like the work that you're doing, and I think that's awesome. Well, is there anything else that you want to add to this conversation? Or hoping that I asked a question and I didn't ask?
Yeah, I mean, this has been really, really good, Megan, and we like, yeah, I just feel like I just always want to say, like, always leave this message out loud that if you want to start a company, it's very hard, but if you're passionate about it, it's all coming. And I remember I met Barbara, who's the CEO of Siemens
She's
US.
fantastic.
She is wonderful, like, and so much of, like, positivity. And you sit with her. I was just chatting with her, and I was like, she's like, it's just you need to wish and you need to work for it, and be there, be patient, be persistent, and it's all gonna happen. Like, I mean, it's just that
Yeah.
we women somewhere, I feel like, and I was last week, another thing which kind of came very, it was very interesting. Somebody made a note like that, women, there's a phrase called sticky feet. So
Who's
yeah,
that?
it's very interesting. Like, that the analogy she gave around that was like, that women, we are so worried about our family, about, like, that we are like stuck in our jobs. It's like, your feet are stuck. You have these sticky feet. And then if you want to go there to take like the next career goal, you're thinking about so much. You are thinking about your babies, you're thinking about, like, your house, you're thinking about your parents, you're thinking about so much that it's not very easy for us to let go and be like, okay, let's take the next leap. So it's like, that analogy made so much sense. Like, we don't think about it, but there's so much of worry behind, like, how is it going to impact our future? Like,
Yeah.
it's these are like some of the, so I would just love through your podcast, I would love to share that if any one of us, like, any one of us out there, if you have a dream to start your own thing, this is the time. Go out there. There'll be a lot of ups and downs. I can tell you this journey is not easy, but if you're passionate about it, it's all coming.
You know, I'm not one to like a lot of stress in my life because I have a lot with like my kids and stuff. But I was talking to my mom and I was just like, starting this adventure has been stressful, but it's been the good kind of stress. Like I don't mind going through it because it's making a difference. But I just feel like if we just let each other know, like, hey, I'm here for you. I'm present for you. Reach out to me. I think a lot more women are more comfortable. And like you said, it's a great time, especially for this sector,
Yeah.
to enter into as a woman because there's so many up and coming
Yeah.
leaders who are making big changes. And Barbara, she's one of them. Like she was the first one where because I always had like this guilty feeling of being a mom and like working too much. And she's like, everybody talks about work-life balance. She's like, I talk about work-life integration. She's like, it's okay
Yes.
if you combine the two. She's like, sometimes I'm taking a
Yeah.
text message meeting while I'm
Yeah.
on a hayride. Like she puts things in perspective. So I appreciate her so much for
Awesome.
helping. Yeah. So, well, Priyansha, if you had one ask for our audience, what would your ask be before I let you go?
Yeah, like follow your dream and always try to, because whatever you do, you help somebody out there. That's gonna go like a long way. So I would always I would just it's we're coming towards the most special time of the year, Thanksgiving. We are thankful for our family, we are thankful for our loved ones, we are thankful to have a job, we are thankful for so many things. We're thankful to have like a good, healthy life, right? Like there's so much that has happened over last couple of years. So yeah, like let's just try to thank and help somebody, one person out there, just one small thing, right? Like, and that is what I would like to request to everybody who's listening in today, that just try, go out there and try to help somebody, and it's gonna go a long way.
I love that. Well, if people have any questions for you or how to get involved with Loopr AI, how can they get a hold of you and where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm easily reachable through LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to me on that. And also, if you have some questions regarding how we can provide, we can add AI in your company, just reach out to us through like our company page as well. And and you can reach out to anybody through Looper. They'll all be so happy to help in any possible way.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much again, Priyansha. I really appreciated this conversation and I hope to meet you someday in the future at a trade show or another event because I just want to give you a hug. I think you're
Yeah,
amazing.
no, it's the same, Megan, and I really, really enjoyed our conversation. And thank you so much again for being so flexible, because I cannot imagine. I don't have kids, but looking at you, like you're like a superwoman, like with having
Oh,
managing kids, managing a job, like, and then managing this podcast. I don't know. I mean, you are a woman with a lot of feathers, trying to do a lot of different things and excelling in all of that. I'm sure there are days when you're like, hey, what am I doing? But you're doing a really, really, really good job. I can see that out
well, like you mentioned before, it's not just me. Like I have a lot of help and support. So my family is a huge factor in all of that. And they help me maintain my sanity. They talk me off the ledge sometimes when I'm like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. But
there.
all right. Well, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Priyansha. And thank you to everyone who tuned in and commented. I do not have any more Mavens of Manufacturing episodes left for the rest of the year. This was the last episode. I do have some pre-recordings that I will be releasing in December, but they're not live conversations. And yeah, I just hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving week if you're in the United States. Otherwise, just have a great work week. And I'll see you guys soon. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Calling all engineers, technicians, and automation pros. Are you ready to take your career to the next level? Don't miss ISA's Black Friday week sale November 20th through November 27th. Save 30% on industry-leading trading, books, events, and standards. Get additional savings at the ISA merchandise store. The best automation deals are just around the corner. Visit isa.org/Black Friday Week 23 to learn more. That's isa.org/Black Friday Week 23.